number one, let's get into it, and then let me explain. Lack of resources, right? Talking about finances, and we're talking about housing. I can only speak for the United States of America because I live in America, right? I don't know how things work in the UK with the NHS, or I don't know how things work in Australia, or outside the US. But in the United States, a lot of things come down to the haves and the have-nots, right? Either you have it or either you don't, right? And if you have, a lot of money or disposable income, the more resources you have, the better your healthcare outcomes are. And I hate to say that, but it's the truth. I don't want to sit up here and lie to you all. And there's actually a study that I saw not too long ago, and I wasn't surprised by it. But in the study, they were saying that they were looking at people who were experiencing depression, right? Like major depressive disorder. So they were looking at people who had been experiencing depression. And the study found out, right, that people who did not have, adequate housing, right, and adequate resources in the form of money, they struggled to bounce back from depression, right? Those who had resources actually did better. So what I took from that was, oh, wow. So me not having resources and being depressed means that I may stay depressed longer because I don't have the resources, right? So that's why we do these live streams. That's why we look for interesting ways to put out the information, right? Whether it's a short film that I'm putting out or it's a real, like we have to, as healthcare providers, I believe that it's our duty, those of us who enjoy using the internet, it's our duty to disseminate the information, put it out there, because not having resources, not having money, not having adequate housing, not having these things, it puts you behind the 8 ball. Like you just don't stand as good a chance as somebody who has those resources, right? So how do we make things more equitable, right? And, at least on my end, talking about it, I would say is a good first step. And Trish says, well, yeah, money affects every aspect of life. It's a stressor, which triggers a lot. Yes, Trish, money is a big stressor, right? And I think sometimes you will have people who may gaslight you and say, oh, it's not about money, or we, like everybody gets the same care. That's just not true. Like if you have money in this country, I'm sure it's similar in other countries, but if you have money, you're going to get resources faster. Like if you have money and you want an ADHD diagnosis, like you'll get resources faster. You'll get meds faster. You'll get therapy faster because you just have the resources, right? So we have to figure out how to make it equitable for those who do not have, disposable income just lying around, right? And even also with uncertainty, like not knowing where your next paycheck is coming from. That's a certain type of anxiety, which if it persists for too long, it can be hurtful for you. Amber says, money conversations like my number one trigger. Yeah. Does resources include health insurance? So Sierra, I didn't mean health insurance when I said resources, but check this out. For those of us who live in the U.S., we live in a country where health insurance is tied to your employment, right? What if you have a job that you hate? And you're like, all right, I'm about to quit this job next week, Friday. As soon as I work these 2 weeks and I get my check for that next pay period, I'm quitting this job, right? And then you think to yourself, oh, I can't quit the job because I'm going to lose my health insurance, right? So, resources, it does include health insurance, right? But if you're not employed, do you have health insurance? I mean, I'm sure some people do, but a lot of times health insurance comes with employment, right? Which makes it tricky for those people who are unemployed.